faithfully sharing insights and value from great books around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, I'll interpret the book called Frontier Expansion for you. The subtitle, Northwest, refers to this book's companion piece, Strategizing the Northern Frontier, which covers the wars between the Northern Song Dynasty and the Liao Kingdom in its early period. Sally's Book Talk has previously covered their author, Zheng Rulong, a renowned scholar of Song Dynasty military history, who served as an associate professor in the history department at the Chinese University of Hong Kong before his passing. The Northwest, in Frontier Expansion Northwest, refers to the northwestern frontier of the Song Dynasty, mainly including the border areas of today's Inner Mongolia, Ningxia, Shanxi, Gansu, and Qinghai provinces. Most of this region was long controlled by the Western Xia. Frontier expansion means opening up new frontiers, and you might find it hard to connect this idea with the Song Dynasty. In traditional views, the Song Dynasty, known for its civil emphasis, was always passive militarily, struggling against powerful rivals like the Liao and Jin dynasties, and even the tiny Western Xia state, contrasting sharply with the expansionist Han and Tang dynasties. However, this book reveals that in the late Northern Song Dynasty, especially when Emperor Zezong, the third to last ruler, took charge, the Song did act unusually, launching large-scale frontier wars in the northwest that pushed Western Xia to the brink. Often, a dynasty's end is weak and fragile, but the Northern Song suddenly surged in strength, and the secret lies in the defensive strategies of the Northwest region. This defense strategy contained offensive elements from the start, and once the time was right, it naturally turned into frontier expansion warfare. Next, I'll break it into 3 parts to explain the historical process of the Song's frontier expansion in the Northwest. Part 1. Why did the vast Song dynasty often lose to the small state of Western Xia? Part 2. How did the Song army gain the initiative in the wars against Western Xia? Part 3. How was the frontier expansion war in the Northwest pushed to its climax during Emperor Zedong's era? First, let's cover Part 1. Why did the vast Song dynasty often lose to the small state of Western Xia? Western Xia was a regime founded by the Tangut people. During the late Tang and Five Dynasties period, a Tangut group was active in the Xiazhu area, near today's Shanxi, Ningxi, and Inner Mongolia borders, carving out their territory. After the Song dynasty was founded, the Tanguts of Xiaozhou submitted to the Song, but later rebelled repeatedly. The two sides fought on and off. In 1038, the Tangut leader, Li Yuanhao of Xiazhou, formally declared himself emperor, establishing Western Xia with today's Yinchuan, Ningxuan, as its capital. Right away, they sent heavy troops to attack the Song dynasty. Even though the Song army defended actively, they kept suffering devastating defeats. You might say the Song army was just that weak, but that's not the truth. The key to winning or losing lies in whether the strategy is right. In the book Strategizing the Northern Frontier, the author pointed out that the Song dynasty effectively resisted the Liao dynasty's attacks in Hebei through elastic defense. Elastic defense means when enemies invade, our army doesn't have to gather all forces at one fortress for a head-on clash. Instead, it uses mobile field armies with strong coordination to crush the enemy and make them retreat. Logically, if the Song just copied the mature elastic defense system from Hebei to the northwest, they could solve the Western Xia problem. But it wasn't that simple. 3 unique unfavorable factors in the northwest severely weakened the Song army's elastic defense. The first unfavorable factor is the fragmented geography of the northwest, which is also the biggest drawback. Unlike the flat plains of Hebei, the northwest has many valleys. Between Western Xia's Ningxia Plain and the Song's Guanzhong Plain are vast mountains, and key river valleys in those mountains connect the 2 plain regions. To control valley access and strengthen border defense, the Song set up 4 military districts here, called Lu, meaning road, and each Song army unit could only march or defend along the valleys. Lu, and the towering mountains between valleys cut off connections between Song armies in different valleys, making it hard for them to support each other. Since troops couldn't reach positions on time, the Song had to spread forces to guard various strongholds, leading to scattered troops that were insufficient at each point. End of Mass Books. In the first major Song-Xia battle, geographical factors deeply affected the outcome. In 1040, Western Xia invaded Yanzhou, now Yan'an City in Shanxi. Song troops at outposts around Yanzhou were spread thin and defeated one by Xia's concentrated forces, putting Yanzhou in peril. The Song hastily mobilized troops from northwestern districts for support. One relief force reached Sangguankou, just 5 li from Yanzhou, but advanced recklessly alone into a Xia ambush and was wiped out. Other forces wandered through valleys and only arrived days after Xia withdrew. If not for sudden heavy snow, making the Xia army retreat voluntarily, Yanzhou would have fallen long ago. The second factor unfavorable to elastic defense in the northwest is the long-neglected border fortifications. In Hebei, the Song army often relied on fortified cities and strongholds, coordinating with field armies to organize elastic defense. But in the northwest, water scarcity and sparse population naturally limited such strongholds, forcing field armies to accept battles initiated by Western Xia without cover or supplies. The third unfavorable factor was the low combat effectiveness of the field armies, which were the core of elastic defense. The main Song forces stationed in the northwest were Central Imperial Guards, but by the mid-Northern Song period, these troops had long neglected training and couldn't fight tough battles. This was practically an open secret at the time. Facing these widely recognized disadvantages, Song military commanders began adjusting strategies according to local conditions. During the wars against Shao, they constantly sought strategic initiative to break free from passive defense, which is what Part 2 will cover. Among various solutions to the Western Xia problem, the most influential was the strategic control of Henshan plan. This plan was proposed by the renowned statesman Fan Zhongyan, who later led the Qingli reforms. During Emperor Renzong's reign, Fan Zhongyang served as the top military commander in a northwestern theater, and he believed that given the 3 major disadvantages, the Song couldn't establish a stable defense system. To build a permanent defense line, the Song army must capture Hangshan in Western Xia territory. Hangshan is located in today's Yulin area of northern Shanxi, near the Song-Xia border. This mountain range served not only as a natural barrier, but was also rich in resources. Western Xia actively courted local ethnic minorities while using this geography to turn Hangshan into a forward supply base for attacking Song. Capturing Hangshan would strip Western Shan of its geographic advantage while freeing Song forces from valley constraints, allowing them to build defenses using natural fortresses. Fan proposed recruiting border ethnic groups to build forts, strengthen defenses, train field armies, and when ready, switch from defense to siege and capture Hangshan. Though defensive, this plan contained offensive elements. It was this offensive element that gradually transformed the Song's strategic defense in the northwest into frontier expansion warfare. In the late 11th century, Emperor Shenzong authorized Wang Anshi's reforms. The goal of these reforms was to enrich the state and strengthen the military. Through economic measures, Shenzong amassed substantial wealth, accumulating material resources for launching frontier expansion wars. Moreover, the emperor continued the military reforms Fan Zhongyan initiated in the northwest, effectively boosting the Song army's combat strength. In 1068, Emperor Shenzong first expanded the frontier in the northeastern Qinghai-Tibet Plateau area, near today's Gansu-Qinghai border. By the 1070s, the Song had expanded over 2,000 li in this region, establishing the 5th Northwestern Military District.
Xia Road, and allied with the largest Tibetan regime to jointly confront Western Xia, known historically as the Xia frontier expansion. Although the Song army didn't engage Western Xia directly, they cut off its ties with Tibet, isolating Xia diplomatically and flanking it militarily, forcing Xia into a pincer situation.
With reforms deepening and the Xihai frontier expansion complete, Emperor Shenzong officially launched a strategic counteroffensive. In 1081 and 1082, he launched two large-scale campaigns against Western Xia. Though the Song army suffered more losses than wins and failed to capture Hangshan, they occupied strategic points like Lanzhou, laying the groundwork for later frontier wars. And so, in 1085, Emperor Shenzong died, and the new emperor, Zheizong, was too young, so state affairs were decided by the Grand Empress Dowager, acting as regent. During this period, the anti-reform faction led by Sima Guan came to power and abolished all new laws, directly affecting the Northwest military situation. Maintaining Northwestern defenses required huge military spending. Just guarding Lanzhou alone cost 1 million strings of cash annually. But after abolishing the new laws, the court's revenue plummeted, unable to support Northwestern military expenses. Sima Guang and others hoped to restore peace with Western Xia to ease fiscal pressure and reduce the people's burden. To show sincerity, they returned some lands Shenzong had captured to Western Xiao and proposed drawing a clear border to ensure lasting peace. However, this was just wishful thinking by Sima Guang's group, because the Western Xia emperor was only 3, and power was held by the regent Empress Dowager Liang.
To consolidate her power, Empress Dowager Liang strongly advocated attacking the Song Dynasty.
In 1087, Song Chao War erupted again, and by 1092, Empress Dowager Liang personally led a large army to brazenly attack Song's Huanqing Circuit. Huanqing Circuit was one of the 5 major northwestern military districts, located in the east, roughly equivalent to today's Qingyang City in Gansu. It centered on the cities of Huanzhou and Qingzhou, with Huanzhou northwest of Qingzhou, near Hangshan. Both cities were built along water and connected by the same valley.
On October 12th that year, Empress Dowager Liang personally led 200,000 Xi'an troops into the valley, heavily besieging Huanzhou City and surrounding forts, with their vanguard advancing deep into the valley to station at strategic points between Huanzhou and Qingzhou, blocking reinforcements from Qingzhou.
The commander of Huanqing Circuit, Zheng Ji, stationed in Qingzhou City, had only 30,000 troops available for defense. Facing enemies vastly outnumbering his own, Zheng Ji decided to adopt an elastic defense strategy. However, compared to the early Song-Shao War, this elastic defense had been significantly adjusted based on the characteristics of both armies, overcoming its unsuitability in the northwest. As early as Fan Zhongyan's era, the Song discovered that Western Chong had a universal militia system with a large army. When the Xia army concentrated forces to attack, the dispersed Song forces, rashly engaging against overwhelming odds, had no chance of victory possible. However, the Xia army's objectives were often to plunder people and goods. After plundering, the heavily laden Shao soldiers returning home lost all fighting spirit during withdrawal, severely diminishing the army's combat effectiveness. Therefore, the best way to defend against Xia attacks was to adopt the breaking tactic, meaning avoiding their main force. Set ambushes on the retreat routes the Xia army must take, then concentrate forces to attack when they withdraw. Zhang Ji adopted precisely this breaking tactic.
With the Xia army pressing forward, Zhang Ji did not rush to engage them. Instead, he dispatched 10,000 field troops to bypass the Xia vanguard, taking mountain paths to encircle the main Xia force besieging Huanzhou from behind.
On October 16th, this force stationed at Hongdae City, north of Huanzhou, which was the inevitable retreat route for the Xia army, with complex terrain, ideal for ambushes. Soon, the Xia vanguard forces returned north to assist the main force in besieging Huangzhou. Seizing the opportunity, Zhang Ji sent the remaining less than 20,000 Song troops from Qingzhou day and night to directly reinforce Huangzhou. By late night on the 17th, Empress Dowager Liang realized she might be caught in a pincer attack by Song forces and was forced to lift the siege of Huangzhou. In the early morning of October 18th, the Xia vanguard passed near Hongdae City, and the Song army let them pass first. By morning, Empress Dowager Liang's central army also arrived at Hongdae City. The Song troops, waiting there for a long time, suddenly opened the gates and attacked, while nearby ambush forces surged out, throwing the Xia army into chaos. However, by afternoon, the Xia rear army arrived at Hongdae City, greatly increasing their strength. The Song troops, who had been fighting continuously for 16 hours, were utterly exhausted. The Song commander leading the ambush realized the situation might reverse and quickly led his troops into the city to mount a strong defense. The Xia army attacked Hongdae City, and both sides fought fiercely until midnight. Not until the third watch, around midnight, did the Song troops open the gates again to attack. They crushed the Xia forces. Empress Dowager Liang escaped through a hidden path and barely survived. At Hongdae City, the Song army fought bitterly for a full day and night. Zhang Ji swiftly seized opportunities, employed the breaking tactic, and his mobile forces demonstrated exceptional flexibility, key to their victory. Western Xia's command center was directly assaulted during the battle, causing Empress Dowager Liang to flee. After returning home, she immediately sought Liao dynasty's mediation to sue for peace with Song. The victory at Hongdae City demonstrates, after adjustments and reforms, the Song army could now effectively resist Western Xia's attacks with their new elastic defense strategy and had gained offensive capability. A truce with Western Xia was no longer necessary. In Part 3, I'll explain how Emperor Zhejiang pushed the northwestern frontier expansion to its climax after taking power.
In 99-4, Emperor Zhejiang assumed control. He reinstated reforms, appointing Zhan Dun as chancellor to fully implement them.
Following Emperor Shenzong's approach, he revived new laws while actively attacking Western Xia. Zhang Ji, who distinguished himself at Hongdae City, was Zhang Dun's relative. With Zhang Dun's backing, Zhang Ji's influence in northwestern expansion grew. Take his Tiandu Mountain campaign as an example of Song's all-out offensive. In early 1097, Zhang Ji became commander of Jingyan Circuit, west of Huanqing Circuit. Centered on modern Pingliang, Gansu, it was the hub among the 5 northwestern districts. But this hub lacked defensible terrain, making it vulnerable. To reinforce this weak point, the Song had to push their border forward to Tiandu Mountain in Western Xia territory. This mountain in today's Haiyuan County, Ningxia, advancing to Tiandu Mountain mirrored the Hengshan strategy, using the forward fortification method.
Forward fortification initially meant building forts as defensive strongholds against Xia, a military strategy Fan Zhongyan advocated for neglected borders.
Later, the Song realized forts built in Xia territory could serve as bases to attack and gradually annex land, pushing borders forward. Thus, they redefined strategy, forward garrisoning. From Jingyuan Circuit, troops marched north through valleys to garrison Tiandu Mountain.
The terrain along this route is extremely complex, so Zhang Ji urgently needed an accurate military map.
Although the Song army had previously mapped this area, those maps were crude and full of errors. To address this, Zhang Ji sent his staff officer Cheng Pu to survey the valleys and front lines on site. Based on the findings, he redrew a colored military map, fixing many mistakes from the old ones. Cheng Pu labeled all strategic points on the map with notes, marking each one carefully. With an accurate military map, Zhang Ji could make more rigorous military deployments This greatly convinced Emperor Zizong. He praised Zhang Ji, saying that while other districts just talked theory in strategy meetings, only Zhang Ji based his plans on military maps, ensuring his strategy would succeed. Moreover, Zhang Ji coordinated with commanders of all northwestern districts, requiring them to cooperate in garrisoning operations and simultaneously launch shallow attacks against Western Xia. Like garrisoning, shallow attacks were originally a defensive tactic. Song troops in different districts were geographically constrained, making it hard to support each other within their territory.
Therefore, the shallow attack tactic required that when one district was attacked, others should immediately strike near the Western Xia border to distract Xia, ease pressure, and disrupt Xia's economy, weakening its long-term war capacity.
Zhang Jie gathered forces from 4 northwestern districts and officially launched the Tiandu Mountain Garrison Campaign after all preparations were ready. The entire campaign can be divided into 4 phases. The first phase was garrisoning Pingsha City. In March 1097, all major northwestern districts suddenly launched shallow attacks on Western Xia simultaneously, preventing Xia from pinpointing Song's main goal. And Zhang Ji seized the chance to attack Shimenkao, 40 li inside Western Xia territory. Shimenkao was the southern gate to Tiandu Mountain. To stop Song troops from entering Tiandu Mountain, Western Xia hastily sent forces to contest it. Although both sides had wins and losses in battles, Shimenku remained firmly in Song hands. After 22 days, the Song army finally built Pingsha City here as a key base for the next moves. The city's name shows Song's determination to conquer Western Xia. By April, unwilling to lose the strategic point, Western Xia mobilized over 100,000 troops to retake Pingsha City, sparking the First Battle of Pingsha City. Regarding the details of this major battle, direct records have been lost. But Zhang Ji later recalled that the battle was perilous at times, with Aoza troops circling to the rear of Pingsha City, attempting to exploit defensive gaps and cut off its supply routes. Well, fortunately, Zhang Ji had prepared in advance by deploying reserve forces to protect the supply lines, preventing Western Xia's plan from succeeding. After winning the first battle of Pingsha City, Zhang Ji and his staff officer, Chang Pu, immediately began securing the rear and flanks of Pingsha City in May. The Tiandu Mountain Garrison campaign entered its second phase. During this process, Changpu continued conducting detailed field surveys on site. Then, based on Changpu's survey report, Zhang Ji formulated a plan to garrison forts around Pingsha City and reported it to the highest military authority in the court. The Bureau of Military Affairs, impressed by the thorough and convincing plan, not only approved it, but also prioritized its implementation over other districts' garrison plans. With the Bureau of Military Affairs' support, Zhang Ji and Chang Pu quickly completed the garrison work around Pingsha City in June, forming a crescent-shaped defense line centered on the city, solidifying Song's military advantage in the area. After that, Zhang Jie and the Song army in Jingwan Circuit entered a period of rest and reorganization. However, a minor controversy arose among the 2 districts west of Jingwan Circuit regarding how to proceed with garrisoning Tiandu Mountain. Adjacent to Jingwan's western border was Qinfeng Circuit, and further west was Sihai Circuit, established during Emperor Shenzong's reign. In December 1097, the commanders of these 2 circuits launched an attack on Western Xia without court approval and achieved victory. Soon after, the commander of Sihai Circuit proposed that he attack from the west and Zhang Ji from the east to jointly garrison Tiandu Mountain. This suggestion was quickly approved by the Bureau of Military Affairs. In January 1098, the Bureau of Military Affairs drafted a plan for Jingyan, Sihai, and Qinfeng circuits to jointly garrison Tiandu Mountain, which would greatly reduce Zhang Ji's pressure and increase the chances of success. However, this seemingly grand plan couldn't be implemented at all. The first problem was with Queen Fang's circuit, which was far from Tiandu Mountain and not playing a leading role in the joint plan. But the commander was unwilling to be a supporting player. Therefore, he was completely unwilling to join the garrison effort at Tiandu Mountain. An even bigger problem arose with Xihai Circuit. The commander of Xihai Circuit actively supported garrisoning Tiandu Mountain because after the First Battle of Pingsha City, he saw the campaign's bright prospects and wanted to share in Zhang Ji's military achievements.
However, after the Bureau of Military Affairs drafted the joint garrison plan, Zhang Ji insisted on commanding the joint headquarters of the three districts, angering the ambitious Xihai Circuit commander.
After face-to-face talks, the Xihai commander and Zhang Ji reached no consensus, and the joint Tiandu Mountain plan was abandoned. Tiandu Mountain came up, although this dispute didn't substantially affect the Tiandu Mountain campaign. It revealed the declining influence of the Bureau of Military Affairs over northwestern battle plans. Spontaneous strategic coordination between district commanders increasingly influenced frontier wars. After circling back, the Tiandu Mountain plan returned to Zhang Ji's original approach. In June 1098, Zhang Ji sent troops from Jingwan Circuit into Tiandu Mountain, building forts in treacherous valleys as springboards to control the entire area. The campaign entered Phase 3. Meanwhile, other districts also achieved significant garrisoning results. Territory gradually consolidated as Song districts encroached on Western Xia. Empress Dowager Liang refused to wait for defeat, deciding to counterattack with her nation's full strength. Got it. Their breakthrough target was the crucial Pingsha City. That July, while amassing troops at Tiandu Mountain, Liang sent foreign envoys to convey peace overtures to Song. Song leadership remained highly alert to this smokescreen and its true intent. The Bureau of Military Affairs urgently issued the Huai Directive to northwestern districts, ordering heightened jive ban. The Bureau's judgment was correct. At that moment, Empress Dowager Liang was finalizing attack plans with Xia generals. Liang believed Pingsha City was Song's largest fortification near Tiandu Mountain, defended by their best commander Guo Cheng. Capturing this toughest stronghold would make surrounding forts collapse without battle. 10 By October, Liang had amassed 400,000 troops north of Tiandu Mountain, publicly claiming 1.5 million soldiers. They were positioned just 50 li from Zhang Ji's forts in Tiandu Mountain. Pingsha City had only 5,000 defenders. Even with nearby forts, total forces barely reached 20,000. The Bureau of Military Affairs urgently mobilized all districts to Jingwan Circuit, assembling over 70,000 troops at Pingsha's front line, while other districts prepared shallow attacks to divert Xiao forces and relieve pressure. Hundreds of thousands of troops gathered along the Song-Xia border, and a decisive battle was imminent. But until the last moment, Empress Dowager Liang carefully concealed her military objectives, making the Song Bureau of Military Affairs suspect Xia might attack elsewhere.
Just as war clouds gathered thick, Empress Dowager Liang took the young Xia emperor and personally led the main force to launch an unprecedented fierce attack on Pingsha City.
The Second Battle of Pingsha City officially erupted. Over 300,000 Xia troops quickly surrounded Pingsha City and nearby forts. The main army used siege ladders, mobile towers, and tunneling tactics, attacking day and night relentlessly. Som General Guo Cheng led the mere 4,000 to 5,000 defenders in fierce resistance, using divine arm crossbows on the city walls, a long-range projectile weapon. They shot at Xia troops and launched night raids to harass the enemy. However, outnumbered and outmatched, Pingsha City still faced a crisis moment where it nearly fell. At this point, nearly all Song relief officers agreed they should attack the Xia main force at any cost to lift the siege. But Chang Pu, known for his strategy, firmly opposed. He pointed out that refusing to relieve Pingsha wasn't cowardice, but had more crucial reasons. The reason Pingsha's defenders held firm against overwhelming odds was precisely because they knew relief forces were outside. Now, compared to Xia's main force, Song's relief troops were insignificant. Even if they won a battle, it might not force Xia to withdraw. But if they lost, Xia, displaying captured Song supplies, would instantly collapse defender morale. Then, who'd defend the city? Besides, Guo Chang was the most skilled commander. With him defending Pingsha, why doubt? Insisting on this, Chang Pu stopped Song relief forces from blindly attacking the besieging Xia army. Chang Pu's thinking aligned perfectly with Zhang Ji and Guo Cheng's. Zhang Ji believed only with mobile field forces outside would the garrison dare fight to the death. Guo Cheng also said his only worry about holding Pingsha was relief forces arriving too soon. After 13 days of siege, Pingsha stood unshaken. Song morale remained high while Aja troops suffered heavy casualties and neared starvation. One night, a sudden strong wind blew outside Pingsha City.
Western Xia's siege engines were destroyed by strong winds, completely shattering troop morale. The Xia army fell into panic and chaos.
Empress Dowager Liang saw this and wept bitterly. She had no choice but to hastily retreat under cover of night, only to run headlong into an ambush set by Chang Pu and others, causing heavy losses to the Xia army. Oh, Xia! Commander Zhang Ji seized the opportunity and ordered Guo Cheng to lead 10,000 light cavalry to attack Tiandu Mountain as planned. On the mountain, the Song army not only crushed the Xia main force again, but also captured two of Western Xia's top generals. Thus, the Second Battle of Pingsha City ended with the complete paralysis of Western Xia's frontline command center. How many Xia soldiers died isn't recorded in history books, but it's said that after this decisive battle, Western Xia could no longer organize large-scale warfare. Though this claim is exaggerated, after the Second Battle of Pingsha City, the Song Dynasty fully seized strategic initiative in the Song-Xia Wars. Zhang Ji was thus praised in Song history as the general with the highest military achievements in frontier expansion campaigns. The Song army's unprecedented victory caused nationwide panic in Western Xia. Empress Dowager Liang sent envoys 3 times in a row to the Liao dynasty, requesting them to mediate again. At that time, Song, Liao, and Xia were in a tripartite balance. If Song destroyed Xia, the balance between Song and Liao would also be upset. This did not align with Liao's strategic interests. To push for lasting peace between Song and Xia, Liao adopted a series of diplomatic measures. First, Liao not only rejected Western Xia's request for military intervention, but also secretly sent an envoy to poison the warlike Empress Dowager Liang. This cut off any possibility of Western Xia continuing to wage war. Next, Liao sent envoys to the Song capital, Kaifan, urging Song to return all occupied Xia lands, thereby highlighting Liao's superior status over both nations. Finally, the Liao emperor personally led troops to patrol 5 to 7 li from the Song-Liao border, pressuring Song. Since the failure to strategize the northern frontier in the early Song had always compromised and yielded in relations with Liao. However, the victory at the Second Battle of Pingsha City gave Song the confidence to hold its head high. Chancellor Zheng Dun firmly believed there was no need to heed Liao's mediation at all. However, after listening to the Bureau of Military Affairs, Emperor Zezong stated that they should not further damage Sun-Liao relations. In the end, Song promised to negotiate peace with Western Xia, but with additional conditions. On one hand, Song demanded that Western Xia submit a letter of apology and hand over 2 war criminals as prerequisites for peace talks. And, on the other hand, facing the aggressive Liao envoys, the Song dynasty firmly rejected the unreasonable demand to return the captured lands to Western Xia. In the state letter delivered to Liao envoys, the Song pointed out that Liao had also dealt with Western Xia's invasions, and Song was merely following Liao's example. Moreover, Western Xia had once submitted to Song, making Song its suzerain state. Legalistic, uncompromising, Western Xia's territories were all granted by the Song dynasty. If Western Xia refused to surrender, Song retained the ultimate right to reclaim sovereignty over these lands. The Song's resolute stance left the Liao envoys stunned. After staying in Kaifeng for 35 days, the Liao envoy could only accept the letter and return to report. During mediation, Song never ceased military operations. The great victory at Pingsha City accelerated the garrisoning of Tiandu Mountain, pushing the campaign into its final phase. And, in April 1099, Zhangji's Jingwan Circuit fully occupied Tiandu Mountain and built numerous forts there. Song established Xianzhou as the new frontline command center. Other districts also saw triumphant advances. In the east, Song forces garrisoned Hengshan, driving some Western Xian people into desert hinterlands. In the west, Shihai and Jingwan circuits connected, while Qingfang Circuit became a secure rear area. From Tiandu Mountain to Pingsha City and Hengshan, Song's new defensive line in the northwestern frontier expansion was now fully connected. The newly occupied areas were also rich in salt ponds, producing salt worth 140,000 strings of cash monthly, greatly easing frontline military expenses. And, in autumn 1099, Western Xia sent envoys to apologize, submitting an extremely humble memorial to Emperor Zhejiang. By year's end, both sides finally restored peace and redrew the border. Fan Zhongyan's strategic vision of using offense for defense, after shifting to active defense, was completed after nearly 60 years. The Song dynasty gained unprecedented prestige in the Northwest. Two main reasons explain Song's military success. First, since Fan Zhongyan adjusted the elastic defense strategy and proposed the strategic control of Hengshan plan, northwestern districts consistently maintained this dual offense-defense approach, minimizing political interference. The second reason was the increasing role of frontline commanders in strategy formulation. As warfare intensified, strategy increasingly relied on detailed intelligence gathering and analysis. The Bureau of Military Affairs' advantages in planning paled compared to frontline commanders' firsthand knowledge. Traditionally, the top-down vertical decision-making process of centralization gradually gave way to horizontal coordination among theater commanders. Emperor Zhezong's frontier expansion war in the northwest enabled the Song dynasty to completely suppress Western Xia both strategically and tactically. During the reign of his successor, Emperor Huaizong, both sides clashed again, with wins and losses on each side. Western Xia barely managed through Liao dynasty's mediation, while Song completely controlled Hengshan. The next step, whether to implement active defense based on Hengshan or to further send troops to conquer Western Xia, was now fully in Song's hands. Unfortunately, Emperor Huzon's rule was dark, corrupt, and the people suffered greatly. The Song dynasty had lost the foundation to support foreign wars. In 1127, the Northern Song Dynasty was conquered by the Jin dynasty in the Jing-Kang incident. After the Southern Song was established, the northwestern region had been incorporated into the Jin dynasty's territory and the frontier expansion effort. Thus, it came to an abrupt end. That's all for Frontier Expansion Northwest today. Book notes are below the audio. See you next time.